In this video, we are going to be sharpening this little case penknife. This is a 6233 penknife. It's a beautiful little knife. It's got the same body as the case of small stockman, but it's only a 2-blade instead of a 3-blade. You can see the number there, 6233. This one is from 1991. The tang stamp is kind of hard to see exactly, but I've took a magnifying glass and it says 19 USA 91 on it. Bradford, PA. I picked this one up at a pawn shop a few years ago. What I liked about it is it's a single spring penknife. A lot of the modern ones, just like it, are double springed. But in this video, I'm going to show how I sharpen this little knife anyways. A lot of times it seems that these little knives seem to be more tedious or more difficult to sharpen than a larger knife. A trapper, for instance, seems pretty easy to sharpen right up. But a smaller knife like this little pen knife, a lot of times seem to be a little more difficult. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I do it. Because the blades are so small, I'm not going to be using a clamp. I do have what's known as a Lansky system. And part of the Lansky system is this clamp right here. You would put your blade here and then tighten this thumb wheel, and that would hold your edge in the clamp. And then you would take your stone with this rod on it, and then you would go through whichever angle you want your knife blade to be. And that keeps your angle consistent and makes sure that you have an even bevel. But it can be very hard to use a clamp like that on one of these small knives. And so I'm going to show you how I do it freehand today. One thing also I'll say, in my opinion, a case of stainless steel is better than it used to be. When you get a modern stainless steel case, it's a pretty good steel. The older was good, but it was not as easy to sharpen. This being a 91 is going to be a little more difficult. But if your knife was made, say, after 2010, 2012, it will probably be considerably easier to get it sharp. I've put a little bit of honing oil on my stone here. And this one is a 120 coarse stone. And then again, this is a Lansky stone. And how you want to begin is you're going to be pulling the knife towards you. And you can see there's an angle on the edge there on your blade. And you want to guess what that angle is when you lay your knife on there until you get that where you feel like the angle's setting right. And then very lightly pull it towards you. Now as you get it back towards you, you're going to have to lift the bottom of the knife, as I'm doing, to carve the tip down toward the stone. See how I'm doing it right there? That's how you're going to want to do it as you follow that edge. And you're going to want to do this a considerable amount of times. It really depends upon how dull your blade is. My blade was dull considerably because I had buffed the blade. And a buffer really dulls an edge out. But you'll just do this kind of manner a number of times. I'm going to go ahead and do that about 15 or 20 times, and then I'll be back to show you what to do on the other side. Okay, I've just finished sharpening it, pulling it toward me like this. After you've done 15 or 20 times or so, you're going to flip the knife over, and this time you're going to be going away from you. It's the same idea. Again, try to keep your blade at an even angle as you move it across so that the bevel will stay nice and even. But at the same time, make sure you're putting that curve at the tip of that clip blade to try again to keep it nice and even and sharp evenly all the way across. So now we're going to do this side just like we did the other side about 15 to 20 times. I'm going to do that and then I'll be back. Okay, I've just finished doing 15 or 20 strokes of the knife away from me like this right here. And after you finish doing that, again, remember to do this nice and lightly. I'm letting the knife apply the pressure to the stone. You'll have a better result that way. You'll have a better edge when you're done, rather than applying a bunch of pressure, which can mess with the edge. But after you've done that, you're going to be looking to see if you can fill a burr over on this side of the blade, the side that you originally started on. And some steels will show more of a burr than others. But after you've got to this part, you're now going to pull the knife back towards you the way that you began, really lightly. And you can hear this is really grabbing this time, because we're shaving off that burr that we have developed. And then I'm going to do 2 strokes there. I'm going to come over and do 2 really light strokes on the other side. I'm going to do 2 light strokes on this side again, like that. 2 light strokes on this side. And then I'm going to do 1 extremely light stroke coming back towards me. Then after I've done that, it's a good idea to just feel of your blade. This one feels good and sharp. You, I guess, really don't have to do this, but this is a 1000 grit ceramic stone. I'm not going to be able to get that to focus, but this is a 1000 grit Lansky ceramic stone. I finish off by just lightly laying the knife right on this and almost applying no pressure at all. I just pull it towards me 2 or 3 times, then away from me 2 or 3 times, alternating each time to make sure that I'm keeping the edge nice and even. And there are different ways to sharpen knives. I'm just showing what works for me with these particular kind of knives. And so this edge feels good and sharp to me. Now we'll test it out and see how it does. Here I've got a old Smoky Mountain Knife Works magazine that expired quite a while back. They're good for testing. The older magazines are good for testing the sharpness of your blade. As you can see, this one is good and sharp now. One way that I always like to test it, if I've really got a edge tuned up good, is starting on the side of the magazine. If you can cut into it like that, you're doing pretty good. You've got a pretty good and pretty sharp blade. And for a little knife like this, that's really just about as sharp as you're going to get it from my experience. If you can get it where you can easily slice through paper like that without any problem at all, you've got that blade plenty sharp enough. And that's how I sharpen a little pin blade, like this one, a little pin knife. That's the general way that I go about it. Just to put it in perspective, I haven't sharpened this blade yet on this knife, the smaller pin blade, and you can see it's not sharp at all. It more rips the paper than cuts through it. And if you compare that to the blade we just sharpened, you'll see we slice right through it without any problems at all. And that's what you're going for, to have a nice, sharp, usable blade. Now, if you'll notice, on this particular knife, I did not go any finer than this 120 grit stone. And the reason is simply this older steel I found from Case prefers to be a little coarser. It likes a little coarser stone. If you go too fine, it won't hold an edge good. But it likes this coarser. Notice how even we kept the bevel on there. See, we kept the bevel nice and even all the way across. It's a good sharpening job. That's what you want to see on a knife. Well, that's all for this video, everybody out there. Have a good day, and keep your knives sharp.